Alright, so the Mystery Pokemon Design Challenge is a sort of game that I like to play. People from my community will pick a Pokemon and then give me 2 Pokédex entries for that mon, but without telling me which Pokemon they belong to. If I don't immediately recognize what Pokemon that is, I will use those Pokédex entries to come up with a brand new mon that fits the description. When I'm done, the original Pokemon is revealed to me, and then we get to compare what I did to what it actually was. Here are the Pokédex entries I was given for today's challenge. Its steel-like hide adds to its powerful tackle. Its horns are so hard they can pierce a diamond. Its tail is thick and powerful. If it binds an enemy, it can render the victim helpless quite easily. Let me know in the comments if you're able to figure out what Pokemon it is just from that. My first thought was Aggron. Steel-like hide, powerful tackle, sharp horns, thick tail, so pretty fitting. But the way that the second dex entry is worded made me think that it's using its tail to bind enemies, and I don't think that Aggron can do that. My second thought was Steelix. Again, steel hide, powerful tackle, thick tail that can bind opponents, but it has kind of blunt spikes, not horns that can pierce a diamond. And I had no other ideas. I was at a loss. Which is great because it actually meant that I was able to not get too bogged down by my theories. I looked for an inspiration that I thought could fit the bill, and I settled on a tree porcupine, a rodent from South America. It's kind of like the North American porcupine, if you're familiar with that, but it's smaller and it has a long prehensile tail. It's got a thick hide that can deal a pretty painful tackle. It has spines that could be fashioned as horns, and it has the powerful binding tail. Let's start by making the first stage of this family. I struggled a lot to come up with a cool secondary inspiration to interlace with the tree porcupine basis, so ultimately I decided to make this an early game normal type rodent, since those tend to be fairly simple in concept. I was thinking of the proportions of the Unova monkeys or Chespin as I drew this, and I'll move more towards that as I go. I liked the active pose, but I felt that it didn't show enough of the back of the Pokemon, and the back is pretty important for this design, so I tried something sort of in between that I'm pretty happy with. Colors will be pretty basic brown with a light colored stripe on the spines. That helps give the look of actual porcupine quills, which are often dark at the base and light at the tip. I considered adding a splash of some brighter color, but decided against it for this stage. For the final version, I decided to do these guys in my own style, same that I've been doing the redesigns in, rather than going full Sugimori, just what I felt like for that day. But before I show you the final art, let's move on to the evolved form. Those traits from the Pokédex entry will definitely apply more to this one. We have a lot of Pokemon that go from quadrupedal to bipedal, like Aaron to Aggron, for example. So I wanted to change things up and instead make a bipedal Pokemon that becomes quadrupedal when it evolves. But I do still imagine it being able to make its way around treetops, even if it isn't as agile as the unevolved form. Most of the design here follows pretty simply from the first stage, so even though I'm going to start with the same color scheme and pattern, I decided to give it a bit more contrast and also try a slightly different way to highlight the tips of the spines in an attempt to not have it look too much like just the same thing but bigger. As the shading will show, the tips of the spines are now actually metallic to help sell the steel-like hide idea, but also to give this Pokemon an interesting and unique type combo. So it'll start as a pure normal type, but then evolve into a normal and steel type. And here's the final result. I'm very happy with them. Even though the concept is rather simple, I think this is an early game normal rodent that I would actually be pretty willing to give a chance to on the team. As usual, I don't have names for them, so give me your suggestions in the comments. Now, are you ready to find out which Pokemon these 2 dex entries came from? It was Nidoking! That one did not occur to me at all. I guess I was pretty close thinking of Aggron, but the way that description made it seem like it was binding its opponents with its tail completely threw me off all of the kaiju. And even though I tried to go in a unique direction, technically Nidoran is an early game rodent. Not a normal type, but still. I wonder how that happens, actually. I think with every challenge, I got some similarity with the originals. outside of what was mentioned directly in the Dex entries. I won't spoil what those were in case you haven't seen the previous episodes and you want to go back and watch them, but yeah, just very curious. Maybe there's some kind of subconscious connection that is influencing my thought process. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you thought of my Porcupine-mon designs and whether you figured it out that it was Nidoking. Thank you for watching, and thank you to all of the Libros who support this channel, especially luxury patron Ethan from Chicago. Remember that you can now become a channel member right here on YouTube. Just click the join button below to get started. I'll see you in the next chapter.